Hands up if someone has observed a lesson that you have taught and told you you need to differentiate more. Hands up if you've observed a lesson and suggested the same to a staff member or one of your colleagues. If your hand isn't up, then I'm going to suggest that you are in the minority, as differentiation has become that all-consuming beast in the majority of schools across Scotland, and that isn't a good thing. Like so many principles and initiatives in education, differentiation has evolved into something it shouldn't have. It's undergone what Bruce Robertson refers to as lethal mutation. In theory, the principle that teachers should take steps to cater for natural differences between students is a sensible and equitable one. However, this does not mean that different learners in a class be taught different things, and by that I mean different curricula. Differentiating in this way creates learning gaps. If learners learn different things, a gap between what one learner knows compared to another automatically appears. If learners are taught in different ways, some will learn in the best ways and some won't. So in a personalised approach to learning, all learners will learn to some extent. However, this extent will differ from learner to learner depending on what they are being taught and how they are being taught. For example, if we look at this quote here from Bart Simpson, "Let me get this straight. We're behind the rest of our class, and we're going to catch up to them by going slower than they are." What's happening here is a misguided understanding and attempt to personalise the curriculum, but ultimately does the opposite of what we're trying to do, which is to close the learning gap. It is the very thing that differentiation should be fighting to prevent. So in an equitable education, where we don't permit gaps, we are aiming to create a level playing field. No matter what their background circumstances or what they have or they haven't previously learned, by the time they leave our classroom or our school, we should be making sure they have the same opportunity to learn the same core things. But the big question is, how can we do that? One approach to avoiding the gaps we've been discussing is to think about our class as a unit. This means that typically we aren't going to be having learners learning different things or engaging in different activities. Yes, some might be at different points within the activity, but as far as possible, we're going to strive to keep the learning of everyone together. Different learners will need different supports, and some will be able to cope, and some will need more challenge. But we shouldn't start segregating learners within our classes and deliberately creating learning gaps. If there is a need for that, it should be temporary. For example, instead of this, consider these options. If we see our class as a unit and offer differing levels of support and challenge as common content is taught, then we will begin to create that equitable education and start to really close the learning gap. The following questions will encourage further reflection and professional dialogue between colleagues.